Hey guys, welcome to another van build episode. I had to buy a brand new piece of 4x8 pine ply because I used these birch pieces and spent days working on getting them to the right spot, but there's definitely issues with the color. The stain on the board, which is absolutely beautiful on that birch ply, it is completely different than the ceiling. I went to our local lumber yard and I bought some cabinet grade pine. It is AC rated, which means there's an A grade face, which is usually pretty nice, but the C grade is not as desirable. So I think we should be able to get some pretty nice cuts out of that board. All right, so coming outside, this is that A face. As you can see, there are some footballs in a few places. This beautiful grain matches exactly what the ceiling looked like. So putting stain over this should hopefully make it pop exactly the same as the ceiling. Looking at how these will line up, I will be able to do one face, a second face here before it gets to any of these footballs, and then we will have a grain that matches both doors, and then I'll do the same with the smaller doors up here. And then on top of it, we have enough space here and over that more than likely we will be able to cut out our faces for our kitchen, because we have drawers that we're going to want faces on. We'll have to just kind of play with it, make sure everything lines up well, and go from there. Because these are all matching grain, I chose this to be the way the cabinet will go, matching that one there, and then same with the bigger one. They will match going like that. So I bought these Bloom compact hinges, which they need a hole drilled into the top to let them sit inside the cabinet door. So this is that Bloom compact hinge, and it will fit right into the hole that we drill. So for the Kreg Concealed Hinge Jig, it has a 35mm Forstner bit that will drill that hole into the plywood. I marked out these holes at 4 inches over, and there's a little notch here that you can go ahead and line up with that line. So for this piece, since this circle you're cutting into the middle of it, this is 35mm, so the radius then is 17.5. So one of the things you have to take into account what hinge you have and what it says for its placement, so that you match the overlay and all that for what hinge you're using. Mine wants it to be at 21mm. So basically I'm adding 3mm to the spacing, and I do that by moving these little dials to add that 3mm. You can add 4, 5, and 6 depending on which hinge you have. Some of them have, they need to be further from the edge. And so that basically, when you twist that thing, it makes flat pieces. It changes the distance from the edge that you have. So putting that on, I'm gonna center it. It comes with these little clamps. Just throw those on to hold everything in place. And then with your drill, that piece will be on the end of it. This actually screws in to the base so that now it's nice and tight on there and doesn't move, and you will have a nice direct hole right in the middle of that. All right, once you drill that out, you can pull that back out. Gives a nice clean hole there. But before you go ahead and take the base of the jig back off, they also have where the screw holes will go, these two little holes. And so with a 1/16 bit, you go ahead and drill those in first, Take them off, and there you go. A nice clean hole. That'll fit perfectly in there, and then look at those screw holes are perfectly centered in this compact hinge that I have. Not all the hinges will line up perfectly with those screw holes, so sometimes you need to change the spacing. Sweet, just finished all the cups. They all look pretty nice. That's the nice thing about this bit, where some people will just use a Forstner bit and hope they get to the right depth. This is spot on. You never have to worry about it going through the piece or moving, so that your hinge is in the holes for the hinge are in the exact square spot. So definitely suggest getting one of these if you can budget for that in your build. The next step will be sanding these all down because they are pretty rough in some spots, but I'm not going to do that tonight since the sun is going down, so we'll plan to do that in the next couple days. Hey guys, as you probably saw in our kitchen build video, which I'll link up here, we just painted the holes that we cut on this and the back frame and door that we're going to put up for this backside. While I have to wait for that, I decided I am going to try to cut all of the drawer faces. Currently, for pieces that we have to work with, I have this piece of scrap that was cut off when we were making the upper, and it is not wide enough. The next two pieces, because I want all of the grain moving the same direction, because our cabinets go the long way across the cabinets, I want these to do the same. So we have one piece that is 36.5 inches by 48 inches. One of the problems though is there are football cutouts in a bunch of different spots. So to utilize this board, we're going to have to strategically put pieces in between all of those and cut off some of that ugly stuff. I'm going to do some measurements, maybe draw up some things, and we'll see if we can get this going. Alright, got my cut list. Now it's just time to make the cuts. This stuff has been sitting for about a month after I had cut it all down. Tonight we're gonna go ahead, get everything sanded down. I bought white pine edge banding to match the pine boards. So this is a stainable edge banding, and it should hopefully match that wood nicely. I figured I'd kind of give you a little rundown of how we put that on though. So I've started on doing just one side, and then after I finish through everything, I will go on to the opposite side, let that dry, and then we're going to go ahead and cut everything off, which I will show you later in the video. But for now, to do this edge banding piece, you have a little bit of an overlap on the side there, and then leave a little bit of an overlap on the opposite end. The key is getting it centered, because if you have edge on both sides, we'll have a tool that we can go ahead and cut that off with. I bought 3/4 inch edge banding, so it basically matches. I couldn't find one a little bit bigger, which normally you want to do one a little bit bigger so you can cut off all that excess nicely. From there, we go ahead and take our iron, start on one end, slowly work our way down so we're melting that adhesive. And as you go, just making sure you're keeping the edge banding all lined up nicely. So once I get to the very end, I start going back down the other way. We want to make sure to keep it, nice and melted, get all of the sides kind of going, working your way up and down, back and forth. And then with the roller that we did with the sound deadener in the van, we go ahead and use this to roll down that adhesive, and it'll give it hopefully a nice firm sticking point. So I usually kind of inspect, see if there's any big gaps anywhere, you know, because sometimes like here, you can kind of see where it wasn't melted in that spot. So I'll usually follow back up with the iron, and then we'll follow up with the roller one more time and call it good. We'll go ahead and take this off. Like I said, this banding was 3/4, so it's pretty close to what this board is. Normally this, you have enough excess off the ends that they go right down that track, and then there's blades within there that slices it. So you basically just run that channel where your banding is, and then just pull right down the edge, and there we go. So that excess banding that was on there did get torn off there. And then the rest of that edge where there's some glue and stuff hanging out, we'll just take the sander to it and it should sand down nicely. As for these ends, I just usually take a utility knife and kind of give where the edge is a nice, almost like paring it like you're cutting an apple or something. It leaves it torn up a little bit, but like I said, we'll take the sander to it and that should sand down nicely. Alright guys, I've finished all of the upper cabinets. I think I'm going to leave these for when all of the new edge banding comes. Should be a few days off Amazon. For the rest of these, because they are actually in the kitchen, there's a chance I might just leave these for when we actually make the drawers. And so we'll go ahead and finish the rest of these up when we get there. As for the upper cabinets, we'll go ahead and stain those as soon as we can and get those installed in the van. Thanks for following along on this episode. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell to be notified as we post new content. We'll have a lot more coming your way. We'll see you next week.